Welcome to the D1 Diary. I'm Madison Donley.
And I'm Skylar Shellmeyer.
This podcast is to give current and former athletes at the collegiate or professional level the light to share their individual and personal stories about life during athletics and everything behind the scenes.
Although the landscape of college athletics is ever changing, we want to give these athletes the opportunity to discuss the real thoughts and effects of what happens inside the minds of collegiate athletes.
Welcome back to the D1 Diary. Today we're interviewing Miles Simmons, a minor league baseball player who's currently playing for the Winnipeg Goldeyes. He was a 4-time transfer student in college, transferring to 4 different schools in 5 years. He started his career at Polk State College in 2017, transferring to Heartland College in 2018, to Purdue in 2019 for the 2021 season that was ended by COVID-19, and then transferring to South Alabama for his 5th year. He didn't make the original draft following college, and he actually took a year off to work. But he came back and got drafted to the minors. So he has a crazy journey to professional baseball, and we are so excited to hear about it.
Hi, Miles. Thank you very much for joining us. We're super excited to have you on. Our first question for you is we kind of want to know how you got involved in baseball, what was your family life like, and where you're from.
What's going on, Sky? What's going on, Madison? Thanks for having me on. Just kind of my background. When I started playing baseball, I was probably 5. I just played whatever sports, like it was football, basketball, baseball, just anything to get out the house for real, because I never liked to stay in the house when I was a kid, so I was always outside. And then just going on through my life, I played all 3 until my sophomore year of high school. And then it was just baseball, football, then obviously baseball. But my family dynamic, they were like, whatever sport you want to play that you enjoy the most, pick it. I always knew it was going to be baseball. I kind of hoped later, like when I was in high school, it was going to be football, obviously. But just kind of rode the wave. And it's taken me some places for real.
How did you know it was going to be baseball versus another sport?
I knew it was going to be baseball, oddly enough, when I was probably 13, because I was in a home run derby or something, and I hit one. I won the home run derby, but I hit a ball super duper far, and I was like, I might need to ride this out a little bit. So that's kind of how I picked it, and I grew to love it for real, honestly.
So you went to college, and I was looking online at some stats, and it looks like you started out at Polk State College, and then you ended up transferring to Heartland College, and then Purdue, and then to South Alabama. So if that's kind of the main emphasis of why we're interviewing you, is just the transfer portal is so relevant right now. You transferred 3 times. What was that like? Maybe you can sum it up briefly, and then we'll dive more deep into it.
Kind of briefly, it was, for me, I have no problem making new acquaintances and new friends, whatever. I can talk to anybody, so it was kind of easier. I feel like if it was somebody in my shoes who was more introverted, it would have been horrible, a nightmare. I mean, you walk into a new locker room. I've walked into a new locker room almost every year of college, which is a lot of people don't do, right? But it was cool. I got to meet people from all different types of backgrounds. So moving to adult life, that's huge, because you look now, some people can't. They don't know how to hold conversations. They can't venture out and do new things. So doing that kind of just helped me out for real. It wasn't crazy for me. But when people like sit down and talk to me like this and break it down, it does sound kind of wild.
What brought you to Polk State College?
So crazy enough, I kind of knew the idea I was going JUCO my senior year. Usually junior year for baseball, like sophomore year is pretty huge. Guys commit. Those are the heavy summers. So, I mean, I had 2 Division I offers out of high school, to Indiana, Purdue, Fort Wayne, I think, and then Murray State. But that one came after the draft, because some I got drafted, so they offered me. And I was just already still committed to the Polk. I was just going through it. I thought I was getting good enough to play Division I. I played on a travel team with a bunch of D1 guys going to Florida, Texas Tech, all the big schools, Mizzou, you name it. Doing that, playing with them, playing against guys all over the country. And schools are there, just never really got the call. Or some schools tried to offer me walk-ons. And I knew it'd be better for me to go to junior college, because I didn't want to sit. No one wants to go into somewhere and sit. So I kind of knew that was going to be the avenue to propel my game. So I collected a bunch of JUCO offers. I went to Jupiter, which is huge for baseball. It's in the fall, your senior year. So all the scouts, all the college, whatever are there. And they were there. They saw me. They offered me. And I knew they put people in like really good schools after the 2 years. That year, I think the commits was like Mizzou, Coastal Carolina, Florida State. So I was like, I'm in. I get to go to Florida. I get to get out of the cold. So committed.
So after Polk State, you met some cool people there, a JUCO. Then you decided to transfer to Heartland the next year, correct? Why Heartland?
Mhm.
And they're not a JUCO, are they?
Yeah, they're JUCO. So the process with that, after my freshman year, like I said, the coach was cool. Polk State, great coach, one of the best coaches I ever played for. But just kind of how he ran things just didn't align with what I wanted to do. And I also had like some family stuff going on, so I just decided that'd be the best bet. Just go back home, hit the reset button. So I mean, it was cool to be where I went to high school and stuff like that. And like obviously, I'm in college, and you're in a college town like Illinois State, so it wasn't horrible. I loved Heartland. Heartland was great.
Were they accepting of your decision to transfer?
My parents are kind of just like, hey, if this is what you really want to do, we're going to support you. They knew I wasn't having the best time out there. So they were like, you can go do whatever you want. Just make sure you do your homework because the grass ain't always greener, which is very true. And I feel like in the portal now, guys get lost in that. They might jump from a school to a better school, but not play or something like that. Something goes wrong. But I did that, and they really accepted in Harlan because I knew a lot of the guys that were there. Oddly enough, because they recruited a ton of Illinois guys, so it was pretty cool. Playing with some guys I had played with like either in the past or like just knew of them type thing. So it was cool.
Yeah, the transfer portal stuff with the credits is really interesting. I'm working in academics now for athletics, and I see it all the time. People transferring in and out, and they lose so many
Mm.
credits. It's crazy how many credits they lose. And I had a senior; she was a senior academically coming in, and she could have graduated at the school she was at, but she lost so many credits that she's now having to retake a bunch of credits just for her to graduate this year. So that can definitely be tough. Did you notice any crazy academic challenges?
To be real, the biggest jump was from junior college to Purdue. So JUCO, the class is pretty small. You got maybe 10, 25 people in there. And then going to Purdue. I probably sat in two lecture halls my first semester. Y'all know how it is, like 200 something people there or whatever. So that was different. I mean, besides that, the mandatory study hall hours too, that was a big difference. I don't like to study in the library or anything, so that kind of sucked. But besides that, it wasn't a huge jump. You just got to kind of apply yourself a little more. You had like, we call it real school.
That's funny. Is it just because when you're at a JUCO where you're taking more general education classes and it's just more lax, where you go into a bigger school with more students, you're kind of like a number. You're not really personalized per se. Was that hard?
No, because I never probably had a crazy good relationship with a teacher or anything like that. I was just kind of, you're my teacher. I'm gonna learn from you. I'm gonna get it done. I wasn't like, hey, can I do this after class? Yeah, maybe a couple times because I had to miss some, but that wasn't anything with me. The thing is, yeah, the gen eds and stuff, I mean, it's pretty easy. If you just show up and do the homework and stuff like that, like you can pass. And obviously going like Purdue, I have to take notes in class. I gotta for real focus on these tests because I mean, if you fail some of those tests, y'all know how it is. You're screwed. Have you screwed? Like three tests a semester. Like, are you serious?
Yeah. I got one more question about the transfer and then we can kind of move on. So going from a JUCO Heartland and then to Purdue, obviously you're probably getting recruited while you're at Heartland and you get this opportunity from a Big Ten, Power Five, pretty good baseball program. Do you think looking back when you first started your college career, do you think you knew, okay, I want to get to X, like I want to get to here, and you're like, okay, this is what I have to do to get there, and like, transfer a couple times? Or was it kind of outside factors that maybe influence your decision to switch schools so many times?
The thing for me was like how I've always been as a player is look, I want to come into a place and I want to do what I need to do to improve. I don't want to sit on a field for 4 hours and do nothing. Like do a bunch of bunt defenses, do individual defense in the outfield, and that doesn't really do anything. So kind of we did at Polk and stuff like that just kind of just didn't match what I wanted. So that played a big part, and I thought it did end up panning out very well. Blessed to say, I went there, I was healthy, I played a very good year, and yeah, you're getting recruited the whole time in JUCO, so it's kind of It's also kind of like it's the same thing. It's like either draft or D1 or whatever. Usually a higher JUCO. It's like I think we had two guys get drafted from Polk my freshman year, and then like sophomore year, I think maybe I don't think anybody went, but guys ended up going. But just things like that. So that plays a big part. You know, you're doing your classes, you're making sure you have good enough grades, but if you're not playing on the field, nothing else matters because you can't go to the school another year. Especially like a sophomore, if I coming in uncommitted, my fall I was uncommitted. Some people already committed, and I was like waiting on it. I didn't get any in the fall, which is crazy. I thought so early spring, like the first 2 weeks of the season. I think the second week I was like national player of the week in the country. So then my phone kind of started lighting up a little bit, which was good. So they called me, yeah, Purdue, Ohio, and I knew other schools were about to call. I didn't plan on committing to Purdue at all. I look back at it now, I'm like, dang, I didn't take an official visit.
Is it common to transfer in baseball? Or did you find later down the line coaches saw that as kind of a red flag that you had transferred so many times?
It's funny because transferring in baseball is pretty normal. Obviously now with the portal, before still guys would do their grad year somewhere else if they redshirted or go JUCO. That's why the JUCO is huge in baseball. Guys are in and out. You go your freshman year, like a lot of guys come into big schools, sophomores, and they don't pan out right. Your first fall, if you're not cutting it, guys are gone in JUCO. Like that's all JUCO is guys that like, maybe didn't get recruited as well in baseball, or guys that are straight kickbacks. Because a lot of other sports like doesn't transfer as well, right? Like soccer, that isn't a huge one for JUCO. Same thing with softball, but like baseball, it's like biggest one I'd say besides maybe football or basketball.
For people that aren't familiar with JUCO, can you just kind of explain what that is?
So JUCO, you're either in junior college because you didn't get good grades in high school. You were a kickback from Division One, so you went to a Division One, didn't pan out. You maybe got cut, or you didn't see yourself playing there, so you went to junior college. Or guys that were under recruited, or maybe didn't like their offers, so that's a huge thing. Or some guys, sometimes also draft guys. Guys will go straight to junior college, so they don't have to wait the 3 years and just get paid their freshman year or sophomore year.
I knew about the grade aspect because of the academic eligibility piece. You have to be considered a qualifier. And if you're not a qualifier academically, you're not playing. So a lot of people, especially in, I would say, men's sports, football, baseball, maybe, I don't know about basketball, but yeah, a lot of the guys just don't make the cut academically, and they have to either you're going to set out a year or you're going to go to JUCO and get your grades up, become a qualifier so you can then go play at a higher level. What do you think were some challenges you may have faced as you were adjusting to all of your new teams?
Some challenges is definitely kind of just I'd say you want to be friendly with people, your teammates. So getting kind of acquainted with guys because they've been there. Obviously, you walk into new locker room. Guys have made connections. They know who they hang. That there's different cliques on every team. Not everybody's hanging out with everybody. You all know that. So that's the biggest challenge. Kind of seeing who I want to hang out with, who I need to be like around. Just avoiding any nonsense as much as I can. That was kind of challenges because you might not know somebody for real. They might seem real cool, and then you see later in the line kind of why people don't like them as much, or they're just not a good person to be around, right? That's just life. So that was definitely some of the hardest things coming into new schools every year is that, and then the coaches, because not every single coach is behind you coming. It's actually a crazy story. When I went to South, I came off a really good year in the Big Ten, like it was all conference, transferred there, and one of the coaches, he just doesn't have any hands in recruiting. He told me in my exit meetings, it's hilarious. He's like, Miles, you really blew my expectations out of the water. He said, in the fall, I didn't think you could hit. I didn't believe in it. I told them, and they all told me I was crazy, and I was stuck to it. And you proved me wrong. I was sitting there like in the meeting, I'm like, damn, that is insane. Yeah, like thank you, recruit. I don't like this kid, but he's here. So I mean, that's the hardest part. You got to get behind, like have some coaches behind you. You're not going to see the field.
I mean, that's a good point. People think you get recruited and your coaches choose you, which is sometimes the case, but not always the case, especially if only one coach is doing the scouting, which is typical. One coach might watch you play and recommend you, and that's how you get your foot in the door, but the other coach might have no involvement in that process.
When you bring up that, I had, funny enough, committed under two different head coaches than I played for, but like back-to-back years. So I came in like out of Polk, the transfer to Heartland, and I knew the coach. He had recruited me out of high school. I was like, cool, I'm going to play for him. He went to Xavier to take a job. So one of the other coaches became my head coach, and he was great. He ended up being awesome. Commit to Purdue under Wazakowski, and then he goes to Oregon that year. So you're trying to see who's getting the coaching job and how it's going to fit. I mean, because when coaches leave, they don't have to give you that scholarship. A new head coach down there. So that was like, hopefully it's going to be all right. I'll write it out because I was in the process of trying to decommit out of JUCO and find another spot, but I stuck it out.
Yeah, that's crazy, and I just feel like transferring well, maybe now it's definitely more popular, but I feel like back when I was getting recruited or it's just, like, something you don't really think about. It was just like, "Okay, pick a school and you stay," unless there's some crazy circumstance. It's very cool that schools are pretty, like, flexible in a way, or they're so understanding of this process and how people use other schools to get to where they wanna be, and everyone's just like, "Yeah, this is cool. This is great."
Did you have any other specific player problems or challenges just coming in and being new every single year? Whether that was on the field or in the locker room, you steal a guy's spot, anything like that.
That is kind of tough to walk into somewhere, and especially if you vibe with a person, you're taking their spot. You don't really realize that until it's over. So you're like, man, I really love that guy. He was in my same position. It just sucks. Obviously, he didn't play because I played. Yeah, that's definitely not the best feeling in the world when you kind of think about it. But hey, that is life. You have to do that at some point. Some point in your life, like you will take something from somebody in order to just keep going up, whether it's a job, etc. But yeah, that's tough. That is tough because some guys they might still talk trash about you because you're here. They're trying to like cause problems. They don't want you to play, or they're trying to do something different than what they do or have done in the past. So me coming in any locker room, I never was trying to be the captain, Mr. Hero. No, I wasn't. I was like, I'm here to win. We can all just win and have fun. It's just like kind of how I am.
Yeah, that would be a very interesting dynamic. 'Cause I know it can take a while to build that trust with your teammates, and I know my program was so dependent on relationships. Like, we could tell that if we didn't
Mhm.
have relationships with one another, we were not gonna do well that year, and it definitely showed in our game when we did have really good relationships. So, it's really interesting that with men's sports, like, people just come in and out, and it's just like, for the most part, it can stay pretty consistent. So, Purdue happened. Why not stay at Purdue, and why go to South Alabama?
So first off, saying I love Purdue University. I'm a proud alum. I did love going to school there. Just some things kind of on the field, it just killed it for me. First things first, after COVID, the Big Ten decided to have only Big Ten. So baseball and I'm saying softball the same way, every sport. I mean, you're playing Friday, Saturday, Sunday, not playing for a week, and then playing Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and you're getting the best competition every single night. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, guy. You don't get the midweeks against the little soft teams, whatever. So I was really salty about that because it hurt a lot of guys because there was a lot of good guys in that class that didn't get picked or teams that didn't make regionals because they didn't simply have enough games. So I was really salty at that. And I was like, I want to get out of the Big Ten kind of thing. We didn't know what was going on. So I was like, I'm out. So that was one reason. Another reason was just how the structure we did things. Like I said, I'm a guy, I need to come in, I need to make sure I'm doing everything in the weight room right. With there it was great. We had Rance Terry, he's not Louisville. But just the field thing there was just like I didn't want to be on the field that long. And I don't have a problem saying that. It was too much. It was too much overkill and stuff that I thought wasn't necessarily propelling me, like pushing me to the next level to get ready to go play professional baseball, in my opinion. So that's the thing that went into it. We weren't doing that great. We had a really tough year. It wasn't the best year to be part of that team that year. I love the guys. I love my roommates and stuff like that. So that was really hard to make that decision. But I just kind of sat down one day and I was like, I'm not enjoying this. When I go to the field, I'm not having the best time. And that's supposed to be the best time. Forget class, forget going out. When you're playing the game, you're supposed to be like, I enjoy this so much. There's none better on earth. So I didn't have that feeling after a lot of games. Those are like some major factors that went into my decision.
I'm interested to hear your thoughts, and I'm not challenging you, and I'm happy you made the best decision for you. I'm just wondering if
Mm.
this is a common trend among current student athletes. It's like, oh man, I'm not having, like, this is hard. I'm gonna say, this is hard. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not having fun. I gotta leave. At what point
Mm-hmm.
is it okay, hard? hard isn't bad. We can do hard things. We should stay to reap the benefits of overcoming that hard, overcoming the fear, overcoming all the doubt and the anxiety of a bad season or whatever, and then having great success after that. I just feel like the transfer portal now, I have such a weird opinion on it because I want people to do what's best for them, but at the same point, it's like
Mm.
I'm not calling you soft at all. Hope you know that. At what point
Mm.
though is it we gotta stick it out, you know? I don't know if you have any thoughts on that, but
Yeah, so I do. I totally get that because I'm the same way. Some people leave because they're just getting coached too hard. Me, you can have the coach I played under my 5th year was my favorite coach, and I mean, he gonna call you out. It's straight up. There's no beating around the bush. That's another thing. I didn't like playing for coaches that like, beat around the bush or there's some I'm like that. No, tell me the truth. Tell me straight up. Cut it through. Like cut the throat. Like you know what I'm saying. Rip the band-aid off. So it wasn't a hard thing like you're saying. Like, a lot of people are like that, which does ruin it. Which makes people hate the portal. They're like, oh well, it's too hard, so I'm gonna go somewhere else and I'm gonna be the man. Well, those guys get exposed because you go somewhere because it's hard, then you go somewhere you think it's not hard. If you kind of look at it from this is my opinion from like what I see, they don't pan out at the other school either. It's really the guys that succeed after transferring they usually transfer for a good reason. That's kind of how I look at it in any sport, women's, men's.
Do you think those are good reasons to transfer, to get on a team that has more spotlight, to transfer and work your way up every year? Or what reasons do you think are beneficial for transferring?
Moving up is, I think, especially now, guys, you're getting paid. If you're at a say a mid major, let's throw like a random one out. Like there's one you Texas Arlington. Like you're there, everything's going great. You're playing really well. Say your team's good, but some people come from some rough backgrounds. You're like, I'm broke. Why not go to a TCU and then make however much money? What I like with the ability you've been given, and it's legal now. Those are things that always people have to tell. You can't blame somebody for doing that because anybody else would in their right mind. If you have like that opportunity to take more money and get paid at what you do, because y'all like it's a job. So I don't have any hate for that. And I think like people do hate that kind of now. I don't. It is what it is.
we just released an episode with I'm going to drop her name again, Morgan Washington. She was talking about the transition and how a lot of these young men are they're like the income for their family. So when it comes to that point of view, they're providing while also getting education and playing a sport and God knows what else they're providing for their family. And that's a very valid point you have. I definitely think the transfer portal has its pros and has its cons. And that's why I'm so in between on whether it's a good thing or bad thing. I have no idea.
I think it's so personal. Obviously, everyone has their own reasons. Grass isn't always greener on the other side. For some people, it's a great move. For others, it doesn't really pan out as expected. Did you feel like all of your transfers did pan out? Or was there anyone that you thought was going to go better than it did?
My first transfer to Harlan was awesome. I think that was a good transfer for me. That was a very good one. We were a really good team. I had a lot of fun with those guys. I made some close lifetime friends from that. So that was a good spot. The JUCO to D1 transfer worked out in some ways, but other ways I didn't think it worked out the way I thought it was going to go. Because the thing in going into committing to a school, y'all know, you go and you're like, dude, they win a lot. They push people professionally. They do whatever. They pack house. And you go to the school and that doesn't happen. It's under different kind of, somebody else has the helm, so to say. It's tough. But I think that one worked. The Purdue one, okay. The South one, I think, was the same way. It was okay. Baseball, like I loved it. It was awesome. I got really better as a person and as a player. I think, in my opinion, I had a really good year. And I mean, I think I was ready. It like prepared me for what I do now. So that was a good one. But like just kind of on the field stuff sucked. I mean, it's bad timing. I committed to the school. They came the year before off a game away from a super regional. They get a bunch of guys drafted all the time. Like super long history there. And it's a good program. So I was all in. We just had some guys running the interviews and stuff. So it didn't pan out how I thought it would, but it panned out well enough, I'll say.
I think that's a good segue to so I do know you play in the minors now, right? That's super, super awesome.
Mm.
But I do know because we were chatting probably, I don't know how long ago. It was a while ago, but this was when you got done at South Alabama and I don't think the draft worked out this year. So this was 2022 summer.
Yeah, it was 20. Yeah, summer 2020.
Yeah, so the draft didn't work out and you ended up taking a job. I think it's with Axel Logistics or something. I can't remember. And then now you're back playing. Talk about that. Talk about that
Yeah.
whole experience, that draft not working out, getting a job, trying to get back into it. What was that like for you?
I will say I am blessed. I am blessed to say that that is one of the worst things that's ever happened. Right? Other people have way worse things happen in their life. You used to look at it from it's not the worst thing, but for me, yeah, it was a huge breakup. Right? I've been doing that. I've been playing baseball since I was 5, and coming in that, I mean, it was real deal. It wasn't like I kind of thought I was gonna go. It was like, no, you're gonna go. And it was from a bunch of people, and so during that, you leading up to the draft and all that, you got your phone blown up. I'm so proud of you, yada yada yada. Like can't wait, and then it doesn't happen. Right? So there's other avenues you can take. Say you didn't get the job at Nike, but Under Armour wants to hire you, but you don't want to work on them. So I had like the opportunities to still play on, but not in affiliated baseball. And I made an emotional decision. It was a 22-year-old kid, right? So I was upset and I was just burnt out. I had a really rough transition. I came off of South. We didn't do as well as I thought we would. I was waiting for a little bit, and then I ended up going to the draft league for summer ball. Went up there. I got hurt in my 3rd game, and I kept playing because I was just like, I don't know if this is the last thing that happens because you never know. So I just kept playing. That didn't work. So I think I played for another week or 2, and then I went home, got healthy, waited for the draft, and I'm like, oh, I get to play baseball again. It didn't happen. I was just like so burnt out of the process. So I was just like, I think it's time. So I talked to my dad. He was like, whatever you want to do, it's your life. And guys were telling me to play. But I was like, I want to make some money, right? I've been in college, I've been broke. So I was like, go get a job. I did that, and I was sitting at my desk watching guys that I played with play. And were like people that I faced. And I'm like, I can still be doing this. I don't need to be doing this. I had 2 phones at 22 years old. Like I'm living the life of a 35-year-old. Wake up, I go lift, I go to work, and I go home and I eat, I go to sleep. I'm like, can't do it. And I had a really good friend reach out to me. And then he told me to go back to playing. So I did.
How was that transition back? Was it hard to get back into it? How did you get into training?
I would say it was weird because like I said, I thought I was done. So I didn't have any more baseball stuff for real. I had no cleats. I still had my gloves and stuff. I went online and bought some bats and some other stuff, and I texted a couple people, and then I'm going back to South Alabama to start training again with other pro guys that were there because everybody comes back and trains there. It was tough because for 4 months I was lifting like a normal person. I wasn't stretching. I wasn't doing conditioning. No, I was just straight like meathead, right? So it was kind of hard to swing the bat and just get back into it, but it took some time. And on top of that, I was just kind of also trying to reimagine myself as a player, which that was 2 bad things happened at once. That's all done now.
Yeah, I definitely relate to you in that story a lot. Right when I got done playing, I got offered to play pro, and I was like, nah, I don't know. The timing wasn't right for me. And it was almost like a self doubt
Mm.
thing. And then I was happy with that decision. And then as I was going to my job and sitting at my desk for 9 hours, and then trying to figure out when to work out, and I got rid of all my softball stuff besides my gloves. And I'm like, what am I doing? What the hell is this? I used to go throw around a softball for 4 hours, and now I'm behind a desk typing on my computer. Like, what the fuck? And I see those people that I played with or played against, and I'm just like, I could totally do that. I could totally do it. So why am I not doing it? I'm proud of you for taking that bold move and fucking doing it. That's sick. And it worked out.
Yeah, like, I appreciate that. And that is something real that people don't get. Is like you said, like the self doubt. After I didn't get drafted, the thought of going to play independent ball professionally, I was like, no, because I had to literally start from the bottom. I literally spent 5 years in college proving that I am good enough to play. I was just like, no, I'm done. I did enough. In my head, I was like, I did enough. And it was tough. It sucked. There was a lot of long nights. And it's crazy too, right? So I was stupid enough to get a job, a 9 to 5 job, and then Monday through Friday, and then bounce on the weekends. So I was bouncing Friday night and Saturday nights. So I was working 6 days a week. Because I was just like, bro, I'm gonna be bored. I don't have nothing else to do. So, but yeah, it sucked. There was a lot of nights. I'm like, why am I doing this? I find no joy in this. This is horrible. So I just said, man, fuck it, for real. Like, I only got one life.
While training, did you also work or did you save up money to be able to train? What was that like?
So I had saved up a bunch of money. So I hadn't had an apartment yet. I was living with one of my best friends, and I was saving up to buy an apartment. And thank God I didn't sign that lease because I was looking at apartments about to move out, and then I made the decision. So I had a bunch of money saved up. So I ended up not having to work. But yeah, now I do. I give lessons and I work at a restaurant. I get waiter. That's what you have to do. It's just how it is. Even guys that are in affiliated ball, if you got a free agent deal, like, you only got $5,000. I mean,
Mhm.
and training is expensive. I mean, you like guys getting paid a lot more, but I mean, at first, like, the training's not cheap. So that is a good question. People don't realize that. Like, you can't just, oh, I'm gonna go lift and not do anything unless you have like a lot of money saved up. But thankfully, I did have a lot saved up.
Yeah, so how did that work out? So you started training, and then what? You just get a call, or did
Mm.
like
So I had texted my advisor before I quit my job. So I had a contract before I quit my job. I want to put this out there. I didn't just quit my job and then like nothing to do. So I texted him. I said, "Hey, what are the odds you can give me a contract with an independent indie ball?" And he was like, "I'll reach out, make some calls." And he texted me 2 days later, and I had a contract. So signed it and quit my job.
dang, just like that. So correct me, you're playing independent ball, you're not playing with a minor team, like a I don't know, triple A team, single A, I don't know what it's called.
So how it is with baseball, what I'm in is the XFL to the NFL.
Okay.
So guys that are there either just got released or it's the same thing, trying to like get picked up that you can get drafted. That's the purpose of it, right? So that's what I'm in. And right now, especially, it's really tough with like MLB. After 2020, the draft went from 40 rounds to 20, and
Yep.
the 2020 year was only 5 rounds. So a bunch of guys were still at school, and they cut 3 teams or something in every single organization. 3 teams were cut, so that's like 100 some guys getting released after COVID. So there's a lot of COVID cuts. It's crazy enough. Guys will hit like 300 and get released.
Yeah.
It's not good right now. And they just cut more guys this year. So after spring training, it'll literally be like how the XFL is. There'll be so many. Like, there's guys that like have had MLB time and like stuff like that that play like art and that. So definitely different from a lot of sports. I will say that.
Yeah. So where are you living right now? You're in Texas?
Yeah, I'm in Texas.
Okay. So you're in Texas. What's your team name?
So I'm re-signed to go back to the Winnipeg Gold Eyes,
Winnipeg, Canada?
Canada. Yeah.
Oh my
Mhm.
gosh.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that. Holy shit.
How do you get signed internationally?
There's 3 main independent leagues that feeds the MLB. So there's one that has like 3 teams in Canada, and then this one only has one. So we're the only team in Canada, but the rest of the teams are on state. But internationally,
Gotcha.
period. So there's Mexico, like the Mexican League. There's the KBO, there's the Korean League, and then there's like the Nippon League in Japan. So those are the 4 biggest ones that are the MLB. So right now it's also crazy. Mexico is adding more spots, so a bunch of guys are just going to Mexico now. Like they're getting released and going to Mexico, or like it's a lot of avenues to make money in baseball. And then you count winter ball and stuff. So it's just kind of word of mouth. I mean, obviously you have a really good agent that helps, like word of mouth agent, like with your background, stuff like that. So it's just kind of all goes together.
Yeah. Wow, that is insane, and it's awesome though that baseball has that many like opportunities to get to where you want to be. Like I wish other sports were like that, but I think that's super cool. So, when you're in your top like your peak season, you're probably traveling a lot, I imagine. Do you have time for a job or right now you're kind of just training, you're saving some money? Like what does that day to day maybe look like?
So, oh no, when you're a season now, that's your job. I mean, you get paid, but you're not. Some people get paid more than others, but it's not crazy. So you don't have to have a job at all. I mean, they pay for everything, like housing, like we get meal money. Same as like it's literally like the copies from like MLB. I mean, besides obviously the money and a little better travel and stuff like that. But yeah, it's every day. We play. I think there's like 6 or 8 off days or something like that. So yeah, you're playing every day. My day to day would be like wake up, get some breakfast, and go get a lift into the stadium, go hit, do whatever you have to do on the field that day, and go play. And then it's like 10, 11 o'clock, and go roll through that. That's how it is every day.
That's crazy. That's a lifestyle right there. That's crazy.
And I want to circle back to agents. Do you have to pay to have your own agent, or how do you acquire an agent to begin with?
So agency like usually reach out to you, whether like they'll see you or something like that, because like agencies get guys when they're in high school, but it's you're an advisor until you get paid. So in college, guys have advisors, and since they've had in high school, so they do a lot for guys. Like especially now with the portal too, that's playing into it. Like your advisor can get you somewhere, like to a bigger school if they see you type thing. So that's kind of how they do it. Like there's big agency groups, like you got Scott Boras, CAA, like there's a bunch more, but that's how it goes for baseball.
So my understanding is you can't technically have an quote unquote agent otherwise because you'll render yourself ineligible, correct? But
Yeah,
people,
it's a little different now, I think, right? Don't they have NLI agents now or something like that?
I don't, I don't know.
You would
But
know.
so basically, I'm asking like these agents call themselves advisors until you actually decide to go through with it, and then they become your agent and start making money off you.
Yeah. So
Okay.
like there's agreement, like obviously agreements. Yeah, it's the same. Mm.
Wow. Cool.
When did you get your first agent, and did you have multiple options, or did you just kind of go with the first person that reached out to you? When did you get
Cool.
your agent, and like did you have multiple options, or did you just kind of go with the first person that reached out to you?
So like I had stuff, little stuff, but none from that went to fruition or nobody, none really happened. But some guys have a bunch of different options. I mean, depending on how high of a prospect, et cetera, et cetera. But for me, no, yeah, I didn't have a ton. I wasn't. I mean, you look at me. I played really well. I had like one of the best seasons that year in college baseball. But you look at me, I'm 5'8". I don't stand out, right? This 6'5" guy. That's kind of how it goes.
Do you think your height played into you not getting drafted your first year?
It played into it 100%, yeah, which is tough because like anything else, it's the same thing as like how the coaches. Not every coach wants you. It's just the same thing with getting drafted professionally. Like you can have somebody that really likes you, but somebody who has like higher authorities, like we're gonna get somebody else. So it's just how it works.
Yeah. Wow. I think I didn't know all this, and I think this is a very awesome story that you have, and the fact that you decided to like be bold and take that leap of faith and just start the grind again, like all over again. It's kind of like that, almost back in JUCO, working your way up to the big leagues. So one of our last questions is for you, and it's kind of a big one, but I want to tie in, transfer portal and then getting to play like professional baseball. So, what piece of advice, or maybe two pieces of advice, would you offer those people who are considering transferring, or maybe who are transferring multiple times? And then on also a piece of advice for those people who are considering either playing pro or starting that journey.
The biggest piece of advice I have is when you're making a decision to transfer, you kind of just need to check every single boxes. You don't want to make an emotional decision as well. I will say that because guys make emotional decisions, right? Say you got screwed over by your school or something happened, you jump in the portal, and the first one that you see, like you jump at it, the first one that looks good, right? And it just pans out horribly. You take a step back, and you're like, "This, I should not have done this." That is a huge piece of advice. Like you need to make sure you need to look into every single like avenue, route, whatever, to make sure this is the right decision because it can play a huge part in your life. Like you say you go to a school, you hate it. Say you didn't have your major and you transferred to that school or something. You had to change your major. You didn't like it. Like that. That's messing with your life a little bit. So people need to take that advice. Also, like I'd say, like the professional route, make sure that you have something to fall back on. I'm not sitting here being like I'm screwed because if I had no baseball, I would be screwed. So that's something people need to take into account. And they expose it a lot, especially in football and stuff like that. Like guys go and nothing happens and they don't have any backup plans. To you have to make sure this is something else in case it doesn't work out because it won't. It always won't work out the way you want it to. No one's career always goes according to plan. So those are like the biggest piece of advice I have.
Yeah, that's some awesome advice, awesome insight, and I hope this is helpful for those individuals pursuing either of those things. So, Madison, anything else?
My last question is, I feel like there's a stereotype that baseball is a dying sport. Would you agree?
I think yeah, there's yes and no. I mean, like you if you turn on like big college games, I mean, there's huge turnouts, and then you go to the MLB, like you have your big market teams, there would be huge turnouts. But I just feel like they're trying to get the game exciting again because like they did the pitch clock thing, they made the bases bigger, et cetera, et cetera. They're trying to expand more teams. I kind of think the product on the field is the reason why we dying because just kind of how they went for like how it's going a long time. They're trying to look for like the home runs. Like no one wants to watch a game where it's 1-0 and the only run was a home run and there was a bunch of strikeouts on every single side. Like that's a horrible game to watch all the time. Like so. I think it's gonna revert back to how it used to be in like the early 2000s and stuff, where it's like really exciting. So but we'll see.
Email us, DM us, reach out to us, and we look forward to next week. But thank you so much for listening. We really appreciate all of you. Follow us on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, all of the socials, and just follow along with our story. Okay. Bye.